I am right now learning from a new book. It is called Whole Brain Living. And for those of you who know who Jill Bolte Taylor is, I don't need to say anything, but for those that don't, Jill is a neuroanatomist. This is a brain scientist who had a stroke. And because of her training and because of who she is, she witnessed herself and what happened to her whole experience and perception of the world as the blood flushed and destroyed a large portion of the left hemisphere of her brain. So she has a very, very distinct, very powerful, very informative experience, and she wrote a whole book about it, and she made a wonderful TED Talk that was the first, as I understand, the first one that went viral and made TED famous and her famous. And that whole story is told in her first book called My Stroke of Insight, which I recommend to everybody. But the book that she just wrote, very new, just published, Whole Brain Living, is her answer to all of our prayers, basically. Whole Brain Living, the anatomy of choice. Choice is the key word here. And the 4 characters that drive our life. So what she's documenting here, based on her experience and her training as a scientist, is that our brain has 4 areas, 4 types of tissue. There's a lot of tissue, but she categorizes the brain in 4 specific areas, 4 groups of cells within our brain that power 4 different characters or personas that we embody at different times of our lives. And if we can understand who those 4 aspects of ourselves are, we can differentiate them. We can identify when we are functioning from one of them or 2 of them or whatever. We have the potential to, at any time that we are feeling stressed, vulnerable, in any uncomfortable situation, in any challenge we have, at any time we have the ability to notice who we are being, what group of cells we're activating at the time, and engage other parts of our brain and our being that are going to allow us to be our best selves. As simple as that. And I am nobody to tell you who those 4 characters are, because nobody tells this story as Jill does. I just wanted to tell you that right now she has a webinar that is going on. In the first session, which was yesterday, she explained the 4 characters. There are many, many videos where she explains this 4. And probably it's best if I just leave some links for you. All I want to say here is that the book is amazing, that the information is very useful, that it's actually fun to get to know these 4 personas we can be. She recommends we name each, and I completely agree, because every time that I say Susanna is speaking, Susanna is my character number 2. She is the one that is powered by the emotional tissue of my left hemisphere. Susanna knows about all my past pain, all my trauma, all the times that I felt vulnerable, little, sad, traumatized. And any time that somebody or something pushes the little button that reminds me of that, Susanna takes over. And I am that person again. And everything I do, say, and think comes from that place. So I am a child again. A child still wanting to be loved, still wanting to find the evidence that she's okay, that she's good enough. It just doesn't work. I don't act my best when I am in that needy place. So being able to recognize, oh, it's Susanna who is talking right now, is so useful, because then I can engage my other 3 characters. Mia, character number 1, is the one that fixes everything, organizes everything. It's the logical, the analytical one, the one that is very articulate verbally, the one that judges things as good as bad, is the one that could tell me right now, hey, Susanna, I understand you're feeling a little afraid or a little sad because you are thinking these things, but let's check out what's going on, what's actually going on. Let's analyze this problem. Let's make some plans, da 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 da. Or I could engage my third character, who is the emotional tissue in my right hemisphere. And what happens in the right hemisphere, whenever we're processing information with the cells from the right hemisphere, we are no longer in identity. We are no longer in the sequential nature of time, that where there's past and projections about the future. When we are in the right hemisphere, which is what Jill lived through all those years of recovery, is we are right here, right now, in the present moment. There's no past, there's no future. There's only now. Goodness, and when you function from that place, life is very, very different. When my character number 3 can talk to Susanna and tell her, you're projecting, but let's just enjoy what's going on right now. Is very different. And even more fun is once you understand your characters, you can start noticing other people's characters and when they are active in relationship with you. So my husband, I have names for him because he has not wanted to do the work and read the book, and so I created names for him. It is so useful for me to notice and know now, oh yeah, all those times that my character 3 and 4 were telling him something full of enthusiasm. I had some wisdom from my number 4, or I had some really fun thing to share with him from my number 3. And he answered back with a bucket of cold water. In the past, I would have gotten hurt. My Susanna, my number 2, would have gotten hurt. I would have made a negative mark on my list of grievances that Joey has in my life. And there would have been conflict. But now, understanding that I was speaking from 3 or 4, and who answered? It was 1. It was Coach. Coach is not emotional. Coach is very concerned about his time and his schedule and making sure that he makes enough money for the house, for what he calls this American splendor. And so being able to identify, it's Coach. Oh, okay, Coach, bye. Have a great day. I'll tell you later when you're not Coach. It's so much better. I'm having a lot of fun with the characters of my husband, the characters of my kid. Joaquin has names too, and it informs our discussions even more. It just gives us another flavor, another piece of framework to discuss all his emotional issues. So this is just a very brief, kind of excited and half-baked introduction to this information, because I really truly believe you should get the book. You should get the book. You should watch the videos. You should start naming your characters. I have a group right now for amazing women who are reading this book together, and we discuss it every 2 weeks. And it's so much fun to hear from everybody how each of us is differentiating the characters and how we're experimenting with them and learn from each other. But even if you don't have a group, an awesome group like that, just learning about it and maybe having a friend or somebody that is doing it with you too is really cool, because what I'm finding is that it's very juicy to learn about these characters in a relationship, in interaction with others. One of the reasons why Jill wrote this book, and that is very touching to me, is because she witnessed herself and the experience of peace and kindness and joy and love that she had when her left hemisphere was inhibited by the stroke. When she was only living from the right, her experience was that it was heaven. And yet we cannot live in that heaven forever. We need the left hemisphere that knows about time and that knows about us as individuals in order to survive here. And so what she thought is the fact that she was learning from this heaven told her this is possible. This experience is possible anytime. And she felt like she needed to recover in order to tell us. Of course, she wanted to recover her life, but she also felt like calling to tell us, hey, this is always available to us. And with her first book, she couldn't explain that. And so people just kept telling her, Jill, must I have a stroke in order to have this perfect experience of heaven? And the answer is no, you don't. You just need to know about these 4 characters. You need to differentiate them. And you need to start using them as a team. And then you can always, our society is very leaning towards using our left. Our education is all about left hemisphere, academics, analytical skills, and things like that. We reward ourselves for functioning that way. But our world is not doing okay when we all think we are individuals and it's all about me, and meeting my needs and being selfish, and others don't matter, and the planet doesn't matter, and nothing matters as long as I, number two, and number one, I'm okay. So her point is being able to understand that and being able to consciously step to the right side of our brain and engage those other two characters that we can be. Number three is the fun person that is always experimenting and curious and enjoying the present moment, creating, expressing, playing, learning. Number four is the thinking issue in our right hemisphere, and she is the wise person that knows we are more than just individuals. She is the one that is right now running my life, and believe me, it is a completely different life. Life-changing. I adore my character number one. I call her Mia. She is amazing, and she works really well with my character three when we create things. She makes sure that what we create is awesome. So I love those two characters. But when Mia, my character number one, is running my life, I tend to be a little bit demanding of myself, a little bit critical of others, a little bit impatient with my process. And yeah, it's worked for me, except for when it hasn't, and I had to engage other pieces of myself. But living now with a different boss or a different driver is very different, and I'm noticing that life still functions. And actually, it seems to be functioning even better. So again, this is just fun because you can play with these things. I decided to give Mia a break, not all of it, but a piece of it, the part that is critical and judgy and super demanding of self. I decided to put that on a break for a little bit and still keep the analytical, the organizing, the fixing, those very useful skills. I still use them, but I use them in support of what my character four, my wise one, wants to do with our life right now. So maybe this is a little vague for you. I so recommend the book. That was the point that I wanted to make. Read the book, read the book, read the book, or watch the videos. And if you're interested in this subject, I am always interested in talking about this. I may come up with another group to talk about this. If you are actually consulting with me right now, I will be talking about this book and about this information, and we will be discussing this thing because it is one of those tools in my life that is one of the most powerful tools I've found so far, and one of the easiest ones to use, I find. You don't need to do a lot of work with this one. You don't need to go dig deep and ask questions and suffer and cry and all these things, although I love doing that too, and I've been doing it too for other reasons. But this is easy, and I noticed that it can be put to use really quickly, very effectively. And so yes, I just wanted to tell you that this is what I'm learning. It is super exciting, and I recommend it to everybody.